We are? All right. Welcome.
Hi, good morning.
If you don't mind, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name's Alan Schiffman.
Healing Hands Chiropractic. I appreciate you taking time out of the day and informing my listeners about some healthy life choices.
Absolutely, my time's yours.
So start off with how long you been a chiropractor for?
40 years.
40 years. And what made you decide this practice of medicine over
Well, that's a good question. I remember teaching martial arts when I was in Florida in 1971, 72. And I was learning all the alignment from the outside of the body, the complete biomechanics of movement with grace, dance, and then self-defense. I thought it would be amazing to learn the inside of the body, combine that with the outside of the body, and I would have pretty good knowledge of what healing was about.
This is already a start of an amazing episode, I could tell. Thank you. I looked up, the 10 best questions to ask a chiropractor, and I like this one because I feel like there's different techniques to chiropracting, right?
There's many techniques.
Yeah. Now, is there a definition for the type of technique that you use over others, or?
I use multiple techniques depending upon what's needed in the situation and the condition of the patient. There are a lot of different approaches, there's movement of the bone techniques with your hands, and then some people use instruments. Some people use just energy, just polarizing energy. The true meaning of chiropractic is practice of laying on of the hands. So in essence, it goes back thousands of years. If you even massage is a laying on of the hands practice, which can be actually defined as a branch of chiropractic in a sense.
Now, for the difference between massage and chiropractic, you actually need a medical degree, I'm assuming, to be a chiropractor.
Well, that's one difference.
Yeah.
That's one difference. The actual technique is an approach and philosophy is completely different. Yeah. In chiropractic, we want to determine the cause of the problem so we can have some ability to correct the problem.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Makes sense.
It's the only art that actually proceeds with that particular approach and philosophy.
Okay. Now, tell me about your time in India. We've talked
My time
about that
in India.
times.
Okay, so now we're jumping all the way. Let's see, to 1988, which was my first pilgrimage.
Okay.
So
you've gone multiple times?
I've gone multiple times. I've gone in 1988, 1990, 1992 for over a month at a time with a great yogic master. The pilgrimage was involved with learning yoga, being initiated in yoga, and understanding all facets of what yoga really is.
Okay. And so that was more just for the yoga experience, and that was
again, this was about healing. Okay, the pilgrimages was about understanding healing. Everything is about, all the Eastern arts are involved with healing. No matter what we're talking about. We're talking about a martial art, we're talking about Tai Chi, Qi Kung, yoga. The root of it actually is all about healing.
Okay.
From the inside out.
Okay. Yeah, I know we've talked about that many times, and I know the relation to chiropractic care in yoga. So I completely understand the two. I just wasn't sure if it was strict, how can I word this? I'm stumping myself.
Well, chiropractic is involved with removing the interference.
I brought this for you. My apologies.
From the body.
Okay.
So when you remove interference from the body, you allow the magic of the body to actually take place. And then we get into the realm of understanding that the power that made you is actually the power that heals you. Okay, so this is what the truth and healing is really all about. is that doctors don't heal. We don't heal. What we do is remove the interference in the body to allow the actual magic of the body to take place and do the healing itself. Because nothing is more miraculous than the human body.
No.
It was made by God.
Big ups and
Okay. If we can get into a debate by that, that's fine.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm very centrist when it comes to religion and politics.
Okay.
I believe in, like I've said a million times, I believe in belief. I
Yes.
believe if your practices are meant for good, then they are that good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. But human beings have a limit, and human beings were made by a special force which is greater than themselves. And you can call it God, you can call it the great is, you can call it the great
itself.
spirit, the universal intelligence, whatever type of name you want to put on it. It is that which actually is composed of everything in the universe. But that in itself is not composed of anything. So everything is composed of that, but that is not composed of anything. So wrap your head around that. Okay, and that's that.
Yeah, I've always looked at whatever the higher power is something that would never, it obviously speaks multiple language. It interprets multiple languages, so it would never care what it was called as long as it was recognized. If that makes sense.
Sure. It's because actually, in actuality, because it is the infinite that we're talking about. It has an infinitesimal amount of names.
Yeah.
And
that's
has an infinitesimal amount of shapes and forms as we see.
And that's why it's always now.
But the illusion is that we're all different, and there is so much separation in this world. Whereas we're really, when we look to the heavens, there's only unity. There's only connectivity.
100%.
And when we disconnect from that, that's when there are problems. Okay. So, we're looking at a society basically that people just want to change other people. Everybody wants to change everybody else. A man and his wife, they probably want to change each other most of the time. And then when they have kids, they want to change them, And then when they go to the doctor's office, they want to change the doctor, okay, to fit their lifestyle or whatever, But it doesn't really work that way, because when you try to grab and hold on to control, you actually lose control. The true essence of control is connecting to the current of life in the universe. Once you are in the flow, you become the flow. And then you have true control. Okay. So very few people get to experience that, unfortunately. Okay. But at times we do, at times we do. So it should be more about in the morning when we wake up, let's connect. Okay. Let's think that way instead of when we get up feeling that we're disconnected all the time.
I'm glad to hear you say that, because sometimes I feel myself, not letting my social butterfly fly, and I'm always, I've been a little bit more reclusive lately, and I think the whole world is like that currently.
We have to look inside ourselves. If we want to change the world, what do we have to do? We have to change ourselves. There it is, first order of business, right? So simple and so understandable, but do we do it?
We don't.
We don't do it. We don't do it, okay? Because we're looking for that other person or that other situation to make us happy.
That's one of the reasons I started coming to you, Doc, is because, I wanted to change myself for the better, and I wanted to stop using my inner pains to reflect my outer self. And
man, you've come a long way.
Oh, yeah. I feel it every single time. Like I say, I know what day of the week it is by how my back's feeling, and then I'm going to come see you the next day.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's about creating better habits, It's this type of thinking that creates negative habits in our life, that we end up creating these negative situations within our own body and our own circumstances. So that type of thinking has to change, because that type of thinking got us into that negativity. So we can't attack that particular situation with the type of thinking that got us there in the first place.
No,
Right?
can't.
We have to change our thinking, right? In order to understand that, we have to kind of take a step back, and become a little detached from the situation so we have a little bit more clarity going on. Wouldn't you think so?
I agree 100%. Some of the, I've tried to obtain a lot. It's hard to break bad habits. It's easy to build good habits.
Right, and that's what you want to do. You don't want to necessarily look at it as breaking a bad habit. What you want to do is keep injecting positive.
Mm-hmm. I tell you what, over the last 6 months of working with you, I've probably ingested more vegetables than I have in my 25 years of life, and it hasn't done anything wrong for me.
Yeah, vegetables and fruit, they're life.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we look at it. We want to always inject some sort of positive force, within us. Just think of it this way: 70% of the world is water. 70% of the human body and a little bit more
Water
is water and fluid. Okay, so your plate of food probably should be about 70% water. Coincides.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Another thing I started, clicking into my mind, and I don't know why it took me 25 years to click this mind, is that, oil and water don't mix.
No.
So if you're eating oily, greasy, nasty foods,
you can get stomachache, right?
It's not going to mix in your body. It's
right.
It's not a water soluble thing.
Right.
So
and you get a stomachache, and then all of a sudden you're obsessed with your pain within yourself, and you can't relate properly to your friends or your loved ones and things like that. So a lot of things go off during that day. It's a lot of domino effect,
It really does.
And everything that we do has a connection to another thing. That's something a lot of us don't realize. Okay, people that unfortunately that they have an affliction, with substance abuse and, just very bad habits and very negative way of life. They think they're in it by themselves. That's very far from the truth, I'm sure there are a lot of people that care about those people, that they're affected by their actions, and it just keeps on dominoing out, all the way out. So we have responsibilities that when we start to deal with things like that, okay, we have to realize that there are other people that we're actually involving in our negative way of life, 100%. Which is very true.
I've seen it with my family. They've let their inner pains kind of turn them into bitter people that aren't, too fun to be around, and it's terrible because they were once fun people, and then you let your, And we're getting a little sidetracked, but I don't really mind because I'm loving this conversation. I got a random question. Now, what do you think makes toxic things so addictive? Greasy, fat foods, sugars, and then we can even get into the larger things such as heroin and crack cocaine and all those things that just people just those obviously have more. I guess they all have the same mental pull. It's dopamine, really, at the end of the day.
People aren't happy with who they are.
Yeah,
they're trying to get some kind of different consciousness all the time.
That instant gratification we talk about.
Yeah, it's quick fix mentality all the way around, and the sugar gives a rush, that adrenaline rush for the body, okay? And then we crash on it and we need some more.
Yeah, it's funny. It's as I said the thought out loud, I kind of registered.
Drugs do the same exact thing. They change your state, okay, temporarily, and in the beginning, it feels interesting, and maybe even euphoric at times.
Mm-hmm.
But then you crash, so you can't handle that because you want to get that euphoric feeling back so badly, so you do it again. And the problem with stuff like that is that after a while, the body builds up its own tolerance, so you need more. And then when that wears off, you start mixing things. Now we got alcohol with the drugs, okay? And then that's not good enough, okay? So let's do psychedelics or mushrooms or acid or, different forms of LSD, okay? Because we're really going to understand the universe if we do that, right? I don't know.
That's what we're led to believe,
Ask anybody that's been involved with substance abuse and they'll tell you, that they thank God that they stopped, so they were giving a second lease on life. You know.
I do agree with that, especially everybody who I know that had a real toxic, I've been through rehab systems myself personally as a younger kid, getting in trouble, and I have a well understanding of addiction, and I would theoretically classify myself as a functioning addict.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, here's kind of like the bottom line to your question, to answer it more completely. When people are gravitating towards toxic substances, it's because internally they're toxic themselves. Things cannot manifest unless it's already there. Whatever's there is going to come out. Okay, so if your mind is chaotic and things like that, you will be more susceptible to being drawn to that sort of thing. Okay, because most people are not happy and then are not present and enjoying their own sense of experience at that moment. Okay, so they're always trying to change their experience. So their minds are already immediately toxic. Most addictions come psychologically first, then physical. Look at obesity. 50% obesity in the United States. Well, these people go to Nutrisystem, they go to Weight Watchers, they go to Jenny Craig, and what have you. It may work for a little while, but then when they stop going to these places, they just put the weight right back on. What do you think that is? Because they weren't addressing the cause of the problem. Again, we go back to what chiropractic is all about. Finding the cause of the problem, we have some ability to correct the problem on a more permanent basis, right?
100%.
I mean, how can there be any other approach, right? Otherwise, we're putting Band-Aids on it for the rest of our life, right? So these people are not addressing the psychological problems that they had at the beginning to make them lean towards sugar and addiction and things like that, because they're not processing the stress properly through their minds and through their bodies. That's the problem. Stress itself is not the problem. It's the inability to process it and handle it on an everyday life. We're all under stress, We all have adversities. But your success is completely determined by how you respond to adversity. And that's kind of where that conversation goes.
that was amazing. Wow, you got. So this next one's a little bit of a trick question because I know you've kind of already answered this. You have talked about this personally, but when's the best age to start, chiropractic care?
When you're an infant.
See, I knew I would get that answer, but I just wanted the people at home to know,
Oh, absolutely.
At any point in time, it's never too soon to start, and that's one of the things I jumped on is I have a family genetics of just terrible backs and hips and back problems, and I wanted to address it at a younger age. That's why I came to you.
It starts in a prenatal, condition. I mean, here's a mom who gains anywhere between 25 to 35 pounds during the 9-month gestation period. And she's not used to that extra weight. Most moms feel a little klutzy and clumsy walking around like that. So what do you think your fetus is doing at that particular time in the amniotic fluid, It's bopping around here and there. Don't you think their alignment at some point when they begin developing or during development might be a little tweaked at some point?
100%.
Have a chiropractor right there, okay, in the maternity ward, checking the alignment, and then continue with the services, okay, throughout childhood and things like that. But I guarantee there will be a lot less percentage of allergies for children in the world if that was.
You think it would help with allergies and everything like that?
Well, in my practice, I have.
I know I have slight asthma. It's not like terrible asthma to where I could have an asthma attack that'll last 45 minutes until I find an inhaler, but I've come in here before after forgetting my inhaler, feeling an asthma attack coming on, and have you cracked it right out of me.
Right. because the adjustment opens up the lungs in certain areas where, depending on where the subluxation is. Okay, so there are subluxations that handle every function in the body because the body is controlled by the brain and the spinal cord, which is your nervous system. And the nervous system controls every function in the body. So your immunity is connected to that. So if your nervous system is out of whack, right, your organs aren't functioning at up to 100% capacity, maybe the cells aren't getting the oxygen they need because the pancreas isn't secreting, the insulin, and sugar is not getting into the cell, or your hemoglobin, is down because of your immune system, whatever that may be. Okay. When you get adjusted, you're strengthening your internal forces, your body. You're connecting your nervous system in a greater capacity. The relationships become more harmonious because everything is connected. And then, how can that not help a weakness that is ongoing, like asthma or, hay fever or whatever that is? Okay, it's making your body stronger.
You having a problem? Oops, sorry. So we're back in part 2. Apologies for the technical difficulties.
No worries.
This is my first portable podcast, as for the guests who don't know, this obviously isn't my normal studio and such.
Cool. So continue on that train of thought that I had.
Yes, if
it was about the allergies, okay?
Yes.
And the unbelievable super intelligence that is inside the body. Okay, when the chiropractic adjustment is emitted to your spine, there is a release of tension and pressure from the spinal cord, which is an extension of the brain. Okay. A lot of people think that, well, yeah, man, this is your back here. Well, that's fine. This is your brain. And what is the tail of the brain? It's the spinal cord that travels all the way down your back. Okay. So the brain is like your operator. The spine is like your telephone switchboard. And everything goes up, down, inside out. So all the impulses that go from the brain through the spine go to every cell in the body, back to the spine, up to the brain, in less than a fraction of a second. So maybe there's a little tension on your spine somewhere along the way. And all of a sudden, your organs and the information that the brain has to tell all your organs in order to how they're supposed to function during the day is tweaked a little bit. So all of a sudden, the brain says, okay, I'm going to give 30% insulin from the pancreas into the bloodstream. And there goes the impulse. And the pancreas goes, thank you very much for your 15% secretion that we need to do. And the brain says, no, that's not what I said. I said it's 30% that we need. And the pancreas goes back and says, thank you very much for your 15%, of that information. So there is interference. That's what my point is about. That's interference, okay, in the transmission. Okay. So then we get that adjustment and then everything is fine. Okay. Then the pancreas receives the information properly, right? It's like a telephone line, When there's interference, we may not get the whole message. It's the same thing. That's how the brain works. That's how your nervous system works.
Like you say all the time, it's the biomechanics,
Biomechanics are on a lot of different levels, Your spine, okay, everybody talks about alignment, okay, within the spine itself. Everything has alignment. Your eyes, your nose, and your mouth, and your ears are over here. What if we switched it around a little bit? What would that be? Kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
Would it have the same type of function? No, it would not.
Yeah.
Because proper form equals proper function.
It's evolution.
That's how that works.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how that works. Okay, when you have something that is built properly, okay, then you can have proper function. Okay, if you just fix part of the roof of the house, okay, then maybe that's not enough. If that part of the house, okay, just keeps getting tweaked all the time, then we have to look under for the foundation. what's going on.
100%.
Right. So it all connects that way.
And back to the original question of, when's the best age to start getting chiropractic care? It's getting, start young while you're malleable and while your body's still forming and growing.
Children respond unbelievable to chiropractic care. You know, it's just amazing, and they love it. They love getting adjusted all the time. I can't tell you how many children that have come into me with the diagnosis of ADHD that was a misdiagnosis. Okay, when you take your child to get diagnosed, diagnosing, first of all, is an art. It's not a complete science. Mm-hmm. In the 1980s, the Mayo Clinic themselves were only 27.5% correct for diagnosing all conditions, and that was considered the #1 clinic in the world, right, for diagnosing all conditions. That's amazing when you think about that.
It is.
But there are a lot of conditions that are similar and identify with maybe 14 identical symptoms, with so many diseases.
It's funny that you say that because as a kid, I was tested for, ADHD and all of that stuff. And anytime I was ever put under a microscope like that, I kind of always straightened up. So I never was diagnosed with any ADHD or anything like that. But I did have, I have a very short attention span. But I think it also, if I was getting chiropractic care at a younger age, I wouldn't have always just been laying my head on my desk, slumped over. I would have had better night's sleep. I may not even have the stomach issues that I have to this day.
Well, there's one thing of making a diagnosis, with someone. And then there's another thing.
Yeah, I'm a little off track,
that
sorry.
I'm going to give you that drug for this diagnosis, and I want you to take that drug for it. Okay, and you're dealing with children, and you're putting them on hard drugs for something that maybe...
Even not hard drugs. When I was 16, they put me on Nexium. At 26, they told me Nexium's bad for me. I'm like, well, thank you for a decade of the wrong medication.
And millions of people have that same story.
Mm-hmm.
Millions of people have that same story. So, for the population, people want a better approach. People would want the results, but they also have to be willing to do the work to get the results. When you come into my office, it's a team effort. I do my part, you do your part, and together we have a good recipe for success. Right?
I agree 100%.
Healing itself needs a strategy. Okay? What kind of strategy do we have? What kind of plan do we have? Okay, for success with the problems that you've come in that have maybe been for the last 15, 20 years. Mm-hmm. Most people come in with those kind of problems,
Okay.
Most people come in with problems that are chronic, that are over a period of time. But they keep searching for that drug, that magic. They're not going to get the chocolate-covered ant in the Amazon that cures cancer, I guarantee you. All right?
I know. I've been looking for it myself, and I know I just got to stick to my juicing. And
Listen, we got to work a little bit. Okay, there's nothing more miraculous than the human machine. Okay? There's nothing more miraculous. It is the temple, of a living presence, which is why at the end of life, see, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. That's another discovery, and that's another conversation.
100%.
So, it's we can go. I can go probably for days. Talking about that.
It's one of the things I love describing about you is that I'm like he's medically professional and just with the right dash of spirituality that I just love.
Well, that's very kind of you to say this. Thank you very much.
There's a lot of people have it's like a political party when it comes to their spirituality, and they feel like they got to push it onto you to where.
Again,
I think real spirituality is just pushing spirituality in general. However you find it as an individual, so be it.
Well, it's there to be expressed, and it's all positive energy.
Mm-hmm. That's the way I look at it.
What is the meaning of health? What is the true meaning of health? It's the balance of the mind, the body, and the spirit, or the soul.
The trifecta.
You have to have the balance, and everyone has their own balance. Some people need more mind, some people need more spirit, and so on and so forth.
That's a good way to put it.
Okay.
I've never thought about it like
So when
that.
you come into my office, we have to find which one that is, right?
See, I personally think I need more body. Obviously, I don't think we can ever have enough mind. You know, as an individual, I think, you know, the mind is an ever vast expanding thing. So there's never
Well, you'll never understand. Well, here's something.
that too.
Here's a conundrum for you. You'll never understand the mind unless you go beyond the mind.
That's a good one.
Okay, and that's something that you can wrap your head around.
I actually have a line in one of my songs where I say, "They think I'm out my mind because outside my mind's where I like to play."
Right, 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 right.
Man, you've touched on a lot of just awesome topics today. I thought of one more.
Yeah, everyone is a book.
So what's a real common pet peeve that a lot of your patients seem to do?
In what respect?
I know I got it.
That's a little general.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that question was given to me by another one of my buddies, and I was trying to figure out a real way to word that. I guess just the most common reoccurring thing that you see patients do that just kind of like, if you could stop that from happening. I guess it's your work's too individual based to give such a vague question. I feel like. My apologies.
Well, look, it's a common thing and a common impulse that when you're looking for true health and a sense of well-being, to look at it in one way, but sort of look at the other person fixing everything for you, and that is an illusion completely. Okay, because you are grown up in this is a drug culture, a quick fix mentality culture in the United States,
And we live
which
longer
is
than
why
ever, which
it's
is
very
crazy.
poor health for the majority of people. Okay, which is also why you have an intense COVID spread or any infection that comes into society, because people's immune systems they're not very good. They're already tweaked. You're already dealing with fear mongering, okay, and anxiety and anxious people throughout the United States. Okay, so and what fear does, it actually suppresses cortisol, which is one of the hormones that actually regulates your immune system. It's a physical response when you're afraid. It's not healthy. Okay, there's so much fear on so many levels in this society. It's unbelievable. It's really unbelievable.
It's crazy.
So you know what? But I'm getting out on a little bit of a tangent. When that person comes in, they want you to fix everything, okay, and they want it done yesterday. That's just common, right? When you bring your car into a mechanic, you want the same thing. But here's the deal. Again, the type of thinking that got you into that situation, like I said earlier, cannot be the type of thinking that we're dealing with in order to get you out of that situation, right?
I tell you what, you answered that. I asked that question terribly, but you answered exactly what I was looking for.
And this is the deal, okay? A lot of them don't want to hear that they have to do something and take responsibility for their own health, okay? That's what's lacking, okay, is the understanding of what their responsibility actually is.
And
So they're going to put their health last and everything first because they don't want to address it. How many people do you know that are actually enjoying the process of exercising and eating right and living really well and so on and so forth?
out of my friends list, probably 2%, maybe.
Right. There is a population. And people would say to me, well, look at all the gyms and all the people that are doing fitness. Oh, you know what? Yeah, they're doing fitness, but they're not focused on what they're doing. Okay, what you're doing.
It's more of a vanity fitness.
A lot of it is a vanity. Okay, it's a cosmetic approach to fitness, and it's more of a social club. Very few people are really dealing with business at hand when they go in and work on that part of the body. And not only that, it's still from the outside in. We need to work from the inside out. Right? Up, down, inside out. That's the recipe. Simple living, high thinking. That's how we do it.
Wow. I don't think I have much more that I could think of to ask right there, and I would love to just end on that one because that was just amazing. Uh, seriously, thank you for taking the time out of this, and I'll.
It was great.
Yeah,
It was great.
thank
I
you.
loved it. Enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
You closed up. All right, awesome.